Welcome to another episode on our channel. We're going to be doing something new from here on out. We're going to put the figure that we're highlighting on on this rotating base so you can see her or him or it from all directions at the very beginning. And then later on, I'll transfer the figure over to the turn tray that I'm used to so I can kind of pause here and there and talk about some interesting pieces of the figure, that sort of thing. The other thing I want to do is, well, it's based on what I did last night. I went back and I looked at some of our older episodes and I went like, oh my God, these are so bad. I don't know how people actually turned in and watched some of those episodes. So I want to redo them. And if they're of celebrities or people from history, add interesting stories or tidbits about them so that when I redo them, it's not like I'm redoing them exactly like like I did in the get-go. I want to do something different. So for example, this particular statue is made by a 3D resin artist who does amazing work. Let's just say that. And there are several figures in this series, and there are two other females I want to do, my husband do, and paint them similar to this one to be on each side of this particular bust. They'll be more horizontal, but they'll look really nice on each side of this bust. The only interesting story I can think of for this figure, and before I share that, let me back up a second. The figures that the artist makes are designed to be 2 to 3 inches tall. So my husband actually had to enlarge this figure and figure out how to scaffold it to get it to print. And this wonderful thing came out, but the legs kept failing. And that actually was a blessing in disguise in that the figure would have been way too large, and she absolutely looks awesome on a base as a bust. So that was a blessing in disguise, really. So yeah, so we're going to make a couple more figures, like I said, females from the same artist to be on each side of this figure. The thing that's interesting about these figures is that they're all related to spiders. And I know a lot of people don't like spiders. I actually like spiders, not all spiders, but a number of spiders. And one I very much like is the jumping spider, which is like this small. Yeah, because it's so cute. And you can put it on your finger and it will look at you and study you, and it's not aggressive at all. It's just a cute spider. I will save jumping spiders whenever I get a chance to save jumping spiders, but brown recluses and black widows, I get my husband to kill those things. Yeah, so we have critters. We can't afford to have our dogs or cats bit by any bad spider. So this spider I wouldn't like because it looks menacing. But with this statue, this 3D resin print, it works perfectly. And she is just absolutely exquisite. She's stunning. So we'll pause and get her on a turn tray so we can talk about her a bit more. We are back, and this whole process has been a journey, a progression of ideas that finally ended up with this output. But before we got here, she was in nutmeg because it was the lightest color I could find, or my husband could find. And I needed a light color because if I was going to do a wash on her, a dark color wasn't going to work. It's not going to show much differentiation between the original color and the wash itself. So the lightest color I had was nutmeg, got it on her after my husband put primer on it. And originally we were going to use wood from what we had in our backyard that was cut into a base. And I thought, okay, if we have something painted in a wash with the wood with different colors in it, it's going to clash with the statue, or the 3D resin print, I should say. And then I thought, I don't really like the nutmeg, and I don't think we should use the wood from our backyard. So I was starting to think metallic copper would look really good with black highlights in certain places to include the spider. And if I was going to do that, then I thought the base had to be black as well. And so my husband used construction 4x4, cut it in an angle, put primer on it, sanded it, primer, and flat black paint on it. And it looks absolutely awesome. It looks stunning. I think this was the right way to go. And we'll do the 2 other figures I talked about earlier from the same artist. We'll do it in the same color combination. I think it's going to look really great when we get done. So let's pause. Let's get some closer shots of her so you can see the differences in terms of what was done with the paint here, because there are some subtle differences and should be noted. We'll be right back. Okay, well, little Miss Evil wanted to be up here, so here she is, actually being quite nice. This morning, she turned on a fan. I heard the fan go on. I didn't see anybody, and finally figured out it was her. She is definitely different than any cat we've ever had. But anyway, all right. So here's the figure, and you can see the black wash has toned down the spider web hat here. It has toned down the staff and the skeleton hand, and it has toned down the dagger. Everything else is just plain metallic copper. Now, the only thing I might do different is do the obsidian metallic black, put a little copper wash on those elements so that those the texturizing and so forth can pop out a little bit better than it does now. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. If it stays this way, I'm a happy camper. It looks just fine the way it is. The spider is awesome. It's really big. I wouldn't, like I said, if I saw this in real life, I'd be yelling for my husband to come kill it because it looks pretty darn bad. But on this thing, it looks pretty darn good. She's letting me use my other hand. Hallelujah. Here we go. All right. So it's just a wonderful 3D resin print that didn't cost that much to print, other than the legs that continued to fail. And once we figured out we didn't need the legs, it all came together after that. All right? Came together? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we'll pause now and get a tighter close-up of Huron up. We'll be right back. We'll just go side to side here. The wash on the spider web, it would compete too much if I left that fully copper, I think, with the rest of the piece. So I think this is a nice place to land here. So there you go. Here is one last look at our figure. I hope you've liked what you've seen. If you have, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. In the meantime, everyone, please have a great day.